party favor. I was somebody you could take off the table.
That one sentence. Sit with it.
Locked me in containers with his shipment of kids. There were kids in there that didn't speak English. There were kids that were sick and that were already died. There were babies. There were babies that were 6 years old, and I'll never forget them just crying, and everybody was just staring at them. Everybody was just staring at each other.
Two women, two completely different lives, but they keep ending up at the same Tazor.
Jeffrey Epstein created this saga, and this is what he is great at doing. He's great at kidnapping someone, turning them into putting them in a dead celebrity's body, and screwing the life out of them after he makes a ton of money off of their ass on his private little beach. So you have a private little beach full of celebrities and bodies getting screwed, and nobody cares because they're supposed to be dead.
Orlando Brown just reacted to Ally Carter's claims about Epstein. And somewhere in that reaction, he dropped Ellen DeGeneres' name into a conversation nobody in Hollywood is ready to have. But here's what nobody is connecting. Let's be completely honest about something right now. For years, two names got dragged through the mud of public ridicule: Orlando Brown and Ally Carter. Every single time either one of them opened their mouth about Hollywood, about systems, about what allegedly happens behind the velvet rope of fame and power, the response was identical: law, dismiss, move on. Orlando Brown, he's having another breakdown. Ally Carter, she's a clout chaser. That was the playbook. That was always the playbook. And it worked until it didn't, because here's what changed. The Epstein files dropped. Over 3 million pages dumped by the Department of Justice in January of 2026.
Today we are producing more than 3 million pages, including more than 2,000 videos and 180,000 images.
3.5 million pages. And suddenly, the people who had been screaming into the void for the last decade didn't sound so crazy anymore. But here's the thing about those files that the headlines won't sit with long enough. They didn't bring clarity. They brought fragments, names blacked out, faces blurred, sections redacted so heavily that what you're left with is the shape of something monstrous, but not the full picture. And that selective exposure, that's exactly what reignited this entire conversation around Orlando Brown and Ally Carter, because both of them had been describing the shape of this thing long before those documents ever hit the internet. And now, Orlando Brown has reacted publicly to Ally Carter's specific claims, and one name he keeps circling back to is not Epstein. It's not Diddy. It's not a rapper, a mogul, or a politician. It's Ellen DeGeneres. And that is where this story gets uncomfortable in a way that is completely different from everything else we've talked about. Before we go any further, we need to give Orlando Brown the context he's been denied. Because if you only know Orlando Brown from viral meme clips, the wild interviews, the shocking statements, the moments that became internet jokes, then you genuinely don't know what's actually been happening. Orlando Brown was a Disney kid. That is the beginning and the end of how most people categorize him. That's so Raven. Young, talented, inside one of the most powerful entertainment machines on the planet. And then, seemingly overnight, his life appeared to fall apart publicly. Every appearance became content. Every statement became a reaction video. Every meltdown became someone else's entertainment. But here's the question that people started asking once the Epstein files dropped. What if that wasn't a coincidence? What if the public ridicule of Orlando Brown served a very specific purpose? Because if people are laughing at you, they aren't listening to you. And if they aren't listening to you, they aren't asking questions about what you're actually saying. Orlando didn't just wake up one day and start talking about Epstein out of nowhere. He had been hinting at dark systems inside Hollywood entertainment for years. He described environments where young entertainers were placed around powerful adults in situations they didn't fully understand or consent to. He talked about patterns. He talked about control. He talked about what happens when you're young, talented, and completely dependent on the industry for your survival.
Jeffrey Epstein created this saga, and this is what he is great at doing. He's great at kidnapping someone, turning them into putting them in a dead celebrity's body, and screwing the life out of them after he makes a ton of money off of their ass on his private little beach. So you have a private little beach full of celebrities and bodies getting screwed, and nobody cares because they're supposed to be dead.
At the time, people heard that and said, there he goes again. But now, in the context of what those files actually revealed, in the context of what Ally Carter has been saying, that clip sounds less like a breakdown and more like someone who knew exactly what he was talking about. And Corey Feldman, another former child star from inside the same Hollywood machine, had been saying something strikingly similar for years before any of this became mainstream conversation.
Number one problem in Hollywood was and is and always will be pedophilia. That's the biggest problem for children in this industry.
The casting couch even applies to children.
Oh yeah. It's not in the same way. It's all done under the radar.
Nobody talks about pedophilia.
It's the big secret.
And it's widespread?
Oh, yeah. I was surrounded by them when I was 14 years old. Surrounded. Literally. Didn't even know it.
Two child stars, different generations, different shows, different lives, same description of the same environment. And now Orlando Brown is reacting specifically to Allie Carter. And he's not ranting. He's not spiraling. He's aligning. He's saying her story and his story have more overlap than people are ready to admit. And the name that keeps surfacing when he talks about the entertainment side of this, the side involving child performers, youth-focused media, and proximity to power, is Ellen DeGeneres. Now let's talk about Allie Carter, because her story is the backbone of this entire conversation, and it deserves to be treated with the weight it carries. Allie Carter has not been telling this story for clout. She has been telling this story at enormous personal cost. Her home address was publicly posted online. Her license plate was circulated by organizations she says are connected to the very people she's been speaking out against.
Our house is gone. This is the price. This is the price of speaking out.
Think about what it takes to keep talking after that. After your home is gone, after your safety is stripped, most people would go silent. Allie Carter got louder, and what she's been saying specifically about the structure of how children were allegedly moved, selected, and exploited is not vague. It is detailed in a way that only someone with direct experience can be detailed. She described being transported, physically moved, placed into environments controlled by powerful adults. She described a system that didn't rely on random opportunity. It was organized, structured, allegedly running through institutions that most Americans trust completely, including Child Protective Services.
Trafficking over the border was for who? Child Protective Services is your supplier. Is anybody going to talk about that? The immigrants that are coming across the border, that all those kids that they were just scooping up out of boats and out of the water, they're now coming in and they're throwing them right into the system. Aurora, Colorado, Springfield, Ohio. Where do you think all those kids are going?
That is not a dramatic metaphor. That is a specific allegation about a specific pipeline. And when she described being used as a party favor, she wasn't speaking loosely. She was describing a system where human beings, specifically children, were treated as objects that could be selected and discarded by adults with enough wealth and power to operate without consequences. Now, Allie Carter has stated publicly that she was present on Diddy's island. And Diddy and Epstein weren't just acquaintances. They were neighbors, properties on the same island, access to the same private air travel, the same insulated environments where the normal rules that apply to the rest of us simply did not apply to them.
He's in cahoots with Epstein, and then
was he in cahoots with Epstein,
Yeah.
or was it just a similar type of an operation?
they were friends.
Really?
Yeah, because Epstein had on Miami as well, that really private, rich estate in Miami, so they were all in cahoots.
So if Allie was allegedly present on Diddy's island and Diddy and Epstein shared access, shared space, and allegedly shared methods, then the question Allie is forcing people to ask is, where else was she taken? And who else was present? And that question, who else was present, is exactly where Orlando Brown's reaction becomes explosive. Because Orlando isn't just validating Allie's story about Epstein. He's pointing toward the entertainment layer of this network, the side that wasn't private islands and hedge funds, the side that was television sets, talent agencies, and household names. Let's talk about Ellen DeGeneres. Ellen DeGeneres built one of the most beloved public personas in the history of American television. Be kind. That was the brand. That was the message plastered across every segment, every interview, every merchandise item. And for a very long time, it worked. But cracks started showing, and they showed publicly. In 2020, a wave of current and former employees came forward describing the Ellen DeGeneres show as a toxic workplace, a place where the Be Kind brand was apparently reserved for the camera. Stories of mistreatment, intimidation, and a culture of fear began circulating. Ellen addressed it, apologized. The show continued, but the image never fully recovered. Now, separate from the workplace allegations, Ellen DeGeneres has been a topic of intense online speculation in the context of the broader Epstein and Hollywood conversations. And Orlando Brown, in reacting to Allie Carter's specific claims, has pointed toward Ellen as someone whose proximity to this world deserves scrutiny. To be clear, there is no confirmed, verified, legal finding connecting Ellen DeGeneres to Jeffrey Epstein's criminal operation. What exists are allegations, public speculation, and Orlando Brown's own statements, all of which remain unconfirmed. But in this climate, where the Epstein files revealed that proximity to power was the common denominator in nearly every single case the conversation is happening, whether Hollywood wants it to or not. And here is why Orlando Brown's reaction specifically matters in this context. Orlando Brown was a child performer inside the Disney ecosystem. Ellen DeGeneres has had documented relationships with Disney, with major entertainment infrastructure, and with the kind of celebrity access that the Epstein network specifically sought out and cultivated. The overlap isn't a conspiracy theory. It's a geographic and social reality of how Hollywood power actually operates. Cat Williams, who has consistently been ahead of the curve on these conversations,
all of these big dick deviants is all catching hell in 2024. It's up for all of them. It don't matter if you Diddy or whoever you is, TG Jakes, any of them. All lies will be exposed. That's all. And anyone who takes that the wrong way, know why they take it the wrong way. The truth is the light.
Said it plain. The truth is the light. And the pattern he described, power, influence, protection, is the exact same pattern that Orlando Brown is pointing toward when he reacts to Ally Carter and brings Ellen into the conversation. Because here's what Orlando has consistently described: a system within the entertainment industry where young performers were placed in proximity to powerful adults, where silence was expected, where speaking out resulted in career destruction or public humiliation. And when he reacts to Ally Carter's version of that same system, the island version, the trap version, the party favor version, he's essentially saying these aren't separate stories. They're floors of the same building. Let's zoom out for a second, because the Ellen piece doesn't exist in isolation. It exists inside a much larger pattern of who gets sacrificed and who gets protected when these networks start to crack. Look at the Epstein files themselves. Prince Andrew exposed. His titles stripped, removed from royal housing, image destroyed. That happened. But ask yourself who made that decision. Someone decided Andrew was expendable. Someone decided his name would be the one attached to photographs. And while the world was focused on Andrew, how many other names stayed black? Bill Gates floated in and out of the Epstein conversation with remarkably little consequence for someone whose name showed up in emails discussing extraordinarily compromising personal information.
Epstein claimed he helped, quote, get drugs in order to deal with the consequences of sex with Russian girls and set up illicit tryst with married women. The email also references Gates asking Epstein to provide Adderall for bridge tournaments. One draft email alleges that Gates tearfully asked Epstein to delete messages referencing an STD.
And Gates's response:
every minute I spent with him, I regret and I apologize that I did that. It's factually true that I was only at dinners. I never went to the island. I never met any women.
Same script, different mouth. Because that's what Cat Williams was describing when he said the number one job of someone who sold their soul in Hollywood is to act like it didn't happen.
You know what the number one job of somebody that sold their soul in Hollywood is? What? Is to act like it didn't happen. They all do the same job.
They all do the same job. Deny, distance, deflect, and if you can get the public to laugh at the people telling the truth, even better. And that brings us back to Ally Carter's specific demand, because she didn't just ask for justice in vague terms. She sat down and gave her explicit consent on record for her name to be unredacted from every ledger, every file, every record connected to those islands.
Pam Bondi, this is my verbal contract with you. My name is Allison Leilani Ray Carter, and I give you full consent to unredact my name in any ledger that you find, especially to connect it to any of the islands.
That is not the move of someone fabricating a story. That is the move of someone who knows exactly what those ledgers contain and is daring the government to let the truth be whole. And Orlando Brown reacting to that, specifically, publicly, and then connecting it to names inside the entertainment world, including Ellen DeGeneres, is not a coincidence. It's a man who has been trying to be heard for over a decade, watching someone else describe the same architecture he's been pointing at, and saying, and Orlando Brown didn't stop at Ellen. Because in his reaction to all of this, he started naming names in a way that made people freeze at their screens. Pink, Megan Fox, Tyra Banks, Steve Harvey. The question he essentially posed was simple. Why are you running? Because here's what people noticed. When the Epstein files dropped, when Diddy went down, when the online pressure around Hollywood accountability reached a boiling point, there was a very specific pattern of celebrity behavior. Social media wipes, sudden silences, public profiles going quiet or being scrubbed, people who used to be everywhere suddenly becoming very, very hard to find online. Orlando Brown pointed pointed at that behavior and called it what it looks like from the outside, not innocence, but panic. Now, naming someone is not the same as proving something, and every name Orlando drops remains an allegation, unverified, publicly stated, but not legally confirmed. But the pattern of behavior he's pointing to is real. It's documented. We watched it happen in real time, and it connects directly to what Ally Carter said about consequences, about what happens when you speak out, about the infrastructure that exists specifically to protect powerful people from exposure.
I am so happy to be away from all the muck that was there.
Silence isn't always requested. Sometimes it's enforced through public ridicule, through career destruction, through home addresses posted online, through a media machine that has a vested interest in maintaining the status quo. And think about this: Melinda Gates, after the Epstein files dropped, didn't defend her ex-husband. She didn't co-sign his story. What she said was she was relieved to be out of that circle. That's not ignorance. That's escape. And people read it exactly that way. Because when you have been inside a circle that close to Jeffrey Epstein, and your response to the exposure of his crimes is relief that you got out, what does that tell you about what that circle actually felt like from the inside? Here is the thing that people keep missing about this moment, about Orlando Brown reacting to Ally Carter, about the Epstein files, about Ellen DeGeneres suddenly being part of this conversation. This is not about internet conspiracy theories. This is about a pattern that has now been confirmed legally, documentedly, undeniably confirmed to have existed. Jeffrey Epstein ran a trafficking network that reached into the highest levels of global power. That is not speculation. That is fact. What remains contested is the full scope of that network, who was inside it, who was protected from it, and who decided which name stayed black in those 3.5 million pages. Ally Carter has been describing that network from the inside for years. She described it before the files dropped.
And I told you guys in that Maria Z interview in 2021 that no one tells on Diddy. P. Diddy.
She described it with details containers, ledgers, party favors, islands that no one guessing from the outside would know to include. And she is now demanding on the record that every connection between her name and those ledgers be made fully public. Orlando Brown has been describing the entertainment layer of that same network for years. He has been ridiculed, dismissed, turned into content, and now he is reacting to Ally Carter and aligning their stories and pointing toward names including Ellen DeGeneres that the mainstream conversation has been very careful to avoid, and Cat Williams told you. He said it loud in 2021 before Diddy was arrested. Before the files dropped, he ain't laughing. Nobody's laughing. Because the pattern he described, power, influence, protection, is the exact same pattern Ally Carter lived inside of. It's the exact same pattern Orlando Brown has been pointing at. And it's the exact same pattern that those redacted files are still, right now, working overtime to keep hidden. The big names haven't all come out yet. They said so themselves.
Big names are gonna come out soon. Will you be shocked when you see certain names, or you pretty much already have everything figured out?
What's done in the dark will come to light.
What's done in the dark will come to light. Orlando Brown said it. Ally Carter said it. Cat Williams said it. Corey Feldman said it. And now the files, even incomplete, even redacted, even selectively released, are starting to confirm it. The only question left is this: when the full picture finally surfaces, and it will, whose name is going to be on it that nobody saw coming? Ellen DeGeneres is a name Orlando Brown is putting into that conversation. And in a story where every person who spoke first got dismissed and then got proven right, that's not something you just scroll past. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think Orlando Brown has been telling the truth all along? Do you believe Ally Carter's story connects to something inside the entertainment world that goes beyond what's already been confirmed? And if those ledgers get fully unredacted, who do you think is most afraid of what comes next? This story is not over. It is nowhere near over. And if you think this was heavy, click on the next video loading up right now, because it goes even deeper.